Good afternoon, everyone. It's Kirsten here from Kirsten Foss Coaching for a Thursday Spa Business Break, where today we are talking about hiring new spa team members. So this conversation is likely for those of you who are solo estheticians, have been out on your own for a little while, and you are noticing that your spa business is growing. Awesome, really exciting, but you might be finding that you're busy enough that you're starting to think that you might need to hire. But before you take those steps, I want to talk to you about this because there may be some misunderstandings, a little bit of hoping for the best kind of thinking going on. And when you do decide to hire, I really want you to be aware of the realities of hiring so that you are not getting caught up in some of the nicer parts of hiring, and you've got some reality, some information based on reality. Because when you hire a team member, it's a really big decision for you financially. It's a very big decision for you as far as time management, and it's a big responsibility to be responsible for a team member. As an employee. So there's a lot on the line when it comes to building your team, and I don't want you to rush into hiring without all of the information. And I am going to be the fun police here for a little while because I think it's really important that you understand the realities of hiring so you don't get yourself into a position where you've spent a lot of time recruiting, hiring, getting this new person onboarded with your facility and then realize, oh my gosh, this is not what I thought it was going to be. So the first thing I want to ask you, if you are thinking you're ready to hire, is to actually ask yourself, do I really need to hire? Because you might actually not have to. You may be getting ahead of yourself, and which could lead into a lot of frustration and expense, to be quite frank. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, how busy are you? Now, if you are able to go into your reports and pull up your productivity report, which is how booked you are, if your productivity report is showing that you are 80% booked consistently for months and months and months, then yes, I would say that you have a business that is a candidate to leverage as far as hiring an employee. But what I do notice happening sometimes is that our industry typically doesn't use the reports to make business decisions. And you may be going by just the thought that, oh yeah, I'm feeling really busy and it seems really busy and I probably should hire somebody to take over my overflow. I want you to make sure that your perception of busy is actually truth busy. And the only way that you can do that is by looking at your productivity reports. Because sometimes, as we know, when we're working in our business and not really paying attention to metrics, we can get a perspective of what's happening that's not actually true, or it's not true enough for long enough to warrant hiring. So if you are booked 80%, consistently for months and months and months, then yes, I would say you are ready to hire if that's the direction that you want to go. The second question I want to ask you is, how much time do you have to devote to a new staff member? Here's the thing. You as a solo esthetician and spa owner, you're kind of chief cook and bottle washer. And you are in the treatment room, obviously, really booked and very busy. That's the whole point why you needed to hire a new team member. But what I do come across on a very regular basis is solo owners wanting to bring on a team member, and they have this idea that they can, show them around, do a little bit of training with them, and then they just put them on the floor or put them on the schedule, and it's like, good luck. Here, you can just take my overflow. The problem with this is that when you have a team and you are keeping yourself in the treatment room, how are you managing that team member? How are you supporting them if you can't see what they're doing? So if you are a solo spa owner and you think that you want to hire a team and still stay in the treatment room, you're going to need to do some very serious thinking about hiring a team member, because if you decide you want to stay in the treatment room and you just kind of want somebody to plunk into your schedule and take the overflow, unless you have somebody who is highly skilled coming in as a team member, it's likely that there's going to be lots of balls dropped, okay? So, and then the problem with having a really highly skilled team member is a lot of times they want to have their own business anyway. So it's kind of that little piece of friction. So that piece is, how much time do you have to devote to a new staff member for onboarding and training and ongoing coaching? Because they are going to need it. That's the only way that you can set them up for success. The other piece of timing that I want to include in here is, are you setting aside time before you hire to prepare for the hire? And what I'm talking about is documenting all your protocols, having all of your policies documented somewhere. So essentially, you need a team handbook and you need an operations manual. If you're a solo business, they're going to be small documents. They're not going to be these huge ones, but you still have to have things documented. If you're going to rely on just your mind, your brain, verbally telling them what to do, I'm going to tell you right now, things are going to get dropped. It has to be documented, it has to be trained, and it has to be ongoing coaching for that in order for it to be successful, to set up that team member for success. If you don't do that, you're essentially setting them up to fail, okay? Just the realities of welcome to being a leader. The next question I have for you is, what are your expectations for ongoing support for that team member? So this kind of dovetails in with what I was just talking about before. So now that you have them trained and they've got a few clients on the books, you're going to still need to be available for them for coaching, for perhaps more advanced training, if you're wanting them to take on more advanced skin services or what other services that you actually have going. So again, if you're expecting yourself to be in the treatment room, when is that going to happen? When is that coaching and ongoing training going to happen? And so that also brings up the conversation of, if you're not in the treatment room as much as you are now, do you still have the same kind of cash flow to afford having a new hire, right? So there's lots of little pieces in here that you have to figure out before you bring on a new team member without getting yourself into a real jam. The fourth question I have for you, and sometimes this question comes up after you've done the hire and after you've been in it for a while, is, do you really want to have a team? Meaning, do you really want to manage people? Now, this is a really valid question, because it's okay if you do not want to manage people. If that's just not your forte, if you just don't really care about doing that, if really what your thing that fills you up about your business is being in the treatment room and treating clients, you're going to have to make a decision that it's okay to reach the plateau that you're going to reach. That's just kind of what happens as a solo entrepreneur, especially as a service provider. Unless you're a skin therapist and you can leverage the heck out of your retail, you sell time and you've only got so much time in the day and in the week to sell. So you will reach a plateau. Now, sometimes I think it's just more of a mental conversation that owners need to have with themselves. Self, do I really want to manage people? Self says, no, I really don't want to manage people. Self, okay, we're good just staying as solo, and we're going to try to leverage as much as we can as far as different opportunities. So it's a very honest question that you should be asking yourself, actually, even before you think about doing any hiring. Do I want to manage people? And if that is an initial, no, I don't, like if you feel that right in your chest, then honor that. Don't push past it. The only other option here is, if you don't want to manage people and you want to stay in the treatment room, it means, and you still want to have a team and grow a business this way, it means you're going to have to hire a skilled manager to manage your people and run the business that way. So those are my 4 questions to ask you. Are you ready to hire? Do you want to hire? There's so many pieces in this conversation about hiring. I just really felt I wanted to bring it up to make sure that you are asking yourself these questions so you don't get yourself into a jam with a team and realize, I really, really stinking hate this. Because then you've put yourself in a position where you maybe decide you want to go back to being a solo, so you have to let somebody go, you have to share with your clients why that person is leaving. It's just kind of messy and doesn't feel very good. So When you are considering hiring a team, you need to sit down and be very thoughtful about what that actually means for you in terms of life-work balance, what that actually means for you as far as your passion and your purpose and what you want to be bringing to the table for your community. And with those, asking yourself those questions and spending time in thought, thoughtfully, then you could probably mitigate a lot of a lot of bumps in the road, so that you're not feeling, you can come to terms with what's right for you. And that means that if it's not right for you to have a team, that you've actually come to terms with it and you're okay with it. There's some closure to that and you don't have to actually think about that anymore. But if you've gone through these questions and you're like, yeah, I still want to have a team, that gives you some direction as well to know where you need to go into. So for example, how busy are you really? I've suggested that you need to look at your reports, your productivity reports. If you're the kind of solo esthetician that doesn't look at reports, doesn't like looking at reports, then it's likely not going to be the right fit for you to manage a team, because you will need to use your metrics to manage your team. All right. So all of these, whether you have a team or don't have a team, that's totally okay. You get to decide. You are the designer of your own business and the designer of your own life. My job here is just to make sure that you're thinking about some of these key points before you get yourself into a situation. Because when we're in the situation and it's sticky and it doesn't feel so good, it adds a lot of stress. When we're feeling a lot of stress, it affects our outcomes for the rest of our business. So I love talking about teams. I love supporting spa owners and their teams. It's not an easy job, and there's lots of different moving parts to it. So there's a lot of responsibility to it. All right, so if you have any questions about building a team, if you are a solo and you've been thinking about this for a while and you just feel the nudge that you want to expand and have a staff member, maybe more, maybe you have big dreams to open in other locations, it's time to be super truthful with yourself right now, right at the beginning, before you get yourself into any hot water. Okay. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments. I'm curious if any of you have had a team and realized, I don't want a team, or maybe you've been thinking about adding a team member and you're just feeling a little bit nervous about it. I'd love to hear your feedback on today's Facebook Live. And always, of course, if you wanted to send me a message privately, you can send me a direct message. Thank you so much for joining me today on our Thursday Spa Business Break. I will be back here next Thursday. We'll see you then.